So Lashana Tova. One more time. You guys can do better than that. Lashana Tova.
Lashana Tova.
Ah, that's beautiful. Very good. So, Reverend Lucille was supposed to be here today to do this inspirational message. And she's not able to be here with us because she is going to be having some surgery. And so we just take a moment to hold her in our hearts and our prayers and send her lots of love and healing energy. I love when Reverend Lucille talks about the Jewish holidays. You know, she's able to speak about it from these years of using those spiritual practices which you can just tell just have fed her and sustained her and formed her into the person that she is. So when I was asked to fill in for her today, how am I going to fill those shoes? So this is going to be my best version of a goyish version of Rosh Hashanah. If that's okay. So Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. But it really has a fourfold meaning. There are really four different things that we celebrate. So the first thing is that it is the Jewish New Year. It's the celebration of the creation of the earth and of all things. It's the celebration of the creation of us, human beings that were created on the sixth day of creation. And when we were created in the image of God, the ultimate creator. But with that came this gift to be able to co-create with God. We're also creators. Little creators. Well, maybe not little creators. Maybe that's too many. You got to understand that. You can go down that hole. So I want to ask you, in this new year, what do you want to create? In this new year, what do you want to give birth to? In this new year, what blessings, what abundance has God given to you which you're being invited to allow out and to shine? The second component of Rosh Hashanah is that it's the day of remembrance. It's a day where we remember our people, our ancestors, where we've come from. It's a day to renew our connections to them. Their love, their DNA, the lessons that they've taught us, the blessings that they've given us are still here. That's infinite. And on Rosh Hashanah, we take time to be with them, to appreciate them, to thank them, and to ask them to continue to help us on our path. So, who would you like to remember on this day? Who would you like to reconnect with? Who were those people in your life who touched you and shaped you and made you who you are, that you want to honor and connect with during these days of awe? The third component of Rosh Hashanah is that it's the day of judgment. Now, I don't like that word at all. That doesn't resound well for me. Because what Rosh Hashanah is really all about, or this component of Rosh Hashanah is all about, is not so much judging, but it's more a process of reflecting. A process of reflecting on where and how in the last year we may have missed the mark. We may have not been all that we could be. Times, places, when, whether out of fears of not being good enough, or some other wounded part of us coming over and taking control of the bus, we weren't the way that we wanted to be. And when we do that, there's a part of us that just puts that onto the pile of things that we can sometimes be disappointed in about ourselves. Or even worse, beat ourselves up about, persecute ourselves about. We want to look at those things. We want to look at what it is that hasn't served us well, so that we can look at who we really are and who we really want to be. There's this spiritual practice that's called tashlik, where people will go into the river or the lake and they'll energetically or physically have representations of things that they want to let go of, and they'll turn out their pockets and release all that no longer serves them into the waters. They're giving it up. It no longer serves me. It's not who I want to be. It's not how I want to live my life. So I'm giving it up. I'm releasing it. So in these days of awe, these days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we are involved in this process. It's like a workshop. It isn't a one-day celebration. It's this, how many days is that together? 14? 15? 10 days. 10 days of going through this experience that I've just described to you. This experience of getting in touch with how much love are we willing to receive and be in the world. I have to admit that in my life, this is one of the things that I wish I could do better. I spend, as a psychotherapist, as a healer, I spend a lot of time not only helping people with their own wounds, but needing to address my own wounds that get in the way of being able to have my heart be fully open. It's only with a full and open heart that I can receive all the divine's love and blessings and abundance. And to the extent that I'm holding on to that stuff that doesn't serve me, I can't allow that in as fully as I want to. So I love this idea. I love this holiday. I love this time in which this is this intensive workshop that we're going through, this process that we're going through on these days of awe. So the last thing that I want to just talk with you a little bit about is, so what is it that gets in the way of us doing that? Why is that hard for us at times? Why can't we just, be this love and receive this love? What gets in the way of that?
Fear.
Fear?
Habits and emotions.
Uh-huh.
Resentments.
Wanting to be safe.
Uh-huh.
Unforgiveness.
Mm-hmm. Right, forgiveness.
Being misunderstood.
Energy loss. Me.
Yes. I hear you, brother. So I would like to just share this idea with you. This is a concept that I talk a lot about with my clients. And this is what I call the nourishment barrier. In Kabbalah, there's this concept called the bread of shame, where when there's God, and then there's us, it's a little hard to not feel good enough. A little bit like I was telling you about. When you could have had Reverend Lucille, when you're getting me, I'm like, That's what the bread of shame is. There's God, and then there's us, and it's like, how can we not feel like not good enough a little bit in that process? And then, of course, we all have our own wounds, the times, the places, the traumas in our life where we were made to feel, or we ended up feeling or telling ourselves that the reason that these things were going on was because we were not enough in some way. And that becomes like this habitual way that we think and feel and believe. And in fact, that's the essence of what's behind, what we call codependency in the business. So, if we can see this, if we can see that we have these wounded parts that are the ones that are responsible for not being able to let that stuff in because there's this sense of not deserving and not being good enough. In these days of awe, and maybe in every day of our life, can we have that part of us, that divine part of us, who is capable of being incredible channel for God's love and healing? Can we have that part of us love and care for and take care of those wounded parts of us and help them to see who they really are? And in this way, move beyond that nourishment barrier to see that it's really okay to allow all of that love in, to really allow in all of those blessings, all of those abundance. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to have that be part of these days of awe where we're doing this spiritual work so that when we get to Yom Kippur, we know we have a clear intention to be inscribed in the book of life for a good and sweet year. So I invite you to enjoy this process, these high holy days, where our ancestors and the angels and God and all of the forces are involved in this process as well. We're all cooking in the stew together, being blessed together. We get this extra oomph, this extra little drive to help us to do this work, this clearing work, this opening work, this work of purification, of opening, of being willing to love, to be loving, and to be the channel for God's love and light that each and every one of you have been called to be.